Jeanette, one thing I want to make sure that you realize is that going back to that idea that you're interviewing them as well, you need to pay attention to illegal questions in an interview. There are certain questions that they are not allowed to ask you. For instance, they're not allowed to ask you anything about your personal life, if you're married, if you have children, if you have health issues, anything about your religion. And these questions could be used to eliminate you from a candidate's pool. So that's why they're designated illegal, but then people have ways of getting around that. So I want you to be familiar with what it is, and I'm going to give you the list of questions so that you can know. The other part of that is, how do you handle illegal questions? So if you notice that they asked you a very direct illegal question, like, are you planning to get married soon? Now you have a choice. You can answer them honestly, or you could say, I'm not going to answer that because it's an illegal question. In which case you probably alienated them and you're not going to be considered anyway. So you have to kind of make that decision about, what am I willing to divulge? What am I willing to hold back? How much do I want to talk to them about this issue? You could prepare ahead of time to say something like, I don't think that that has any relevancy on my ability to do this job. How would that be heard? How would that be received? You have to think about those things. It definitely relates to mothers with children, because I might be concerned that you're going to take time off to work, to not come to work when your child is sick. So that's an area that we really need to be heads up about. Oh, if I say something like, oh, I see you have a ring on your finger and you're engaged, when are you going to get married? It just could be an innocent, chatty kind of question, and you might want to share it, or I might think, oh, I wonder if she's going to leave the area as soon as she gets married and go off with her husband or something. So just be prepared. Uncomfortable questions can arise. You have to be prepared how to say them, how assertive you want to be, how much you want to give them. It might mean nothing to you to say, sure, I'm engaged, I'm going to get married in a couple of years, and whatever you want to say. It's up to you. Okay, now I want to go as really kind of a conclusion here, is that the employer does have some basic questions in their mind that they're never going to ask you. I'm going to ask questions as an employer to try and get these questions answered. These are really the crux of why we are interviewing, why you are here for me. Number one is, can you do the job? That has to do with what? Your skills. Do you have the skills that I need for this job to be accomplished? Can you do the job? It's going to come at you in different ways. Tell me about a time when you had to multitask this, when you had to organize this, when you had to create a database, blah, blah, blah. There's going to be skill-related questions. Okay? The next one is, will you do the job? Do you know what that might be about? It's motivation. Motivation. How much do you understand that this job is up to you? If you're tired in the morning and you don't want to arrive as early as your job calls for, are you going to get up and come to work every day? How motivated are you if it gets really difficult and hard and there's a lot of stress? So I'm trying to determine your level of motivation to do the job. The last one is kind of inclusive of a lot of things that I want to break down. I'm going to say, do I like you? We're humans. We make our decisions based on a like factor, and there's no getting around that. That like factor can be on appearance. It can be on whether you fit with us. Are you going to fit with our team? Because maybe I have all females. Maybe I already had a discussion with my team and we think we need to hire a male. So you can't control that. The I like you, do I like you factor is somewhat uncontrollable, other than your appearance, your demeanor, your professionalism. You bring what you can to the table and hope that it falls your way when it comes to that criteria. But that's just the way that people are. So all these things are going through my head, and I'm going to try and figure out, can she do the job? Will she do the job? Does she fit with us? Do I like her? Does she have the kind of personality I can manage? Does she have an attitude? That's all under, do I like you? I'm going to have to take a chance on you. It's a risk to hire you. I'm going to invest in you. I'm going to depend on you. I'm going to have you do a lot of work for me that is going to speak for my office, my organization. So I'm constantly thinking, how can I uncover this critical information from you so that I can feel secure and say, okay, let's go with her.